They pushed us for 47 years now. Humanity has stopped asking permission. The holographic display flickered to life in the dimly lit war room of Luna Base Command, casting an ethereal blue glow across the faces of Earth's military leadership. Admiral Sarah Chen stood at attention, her weathered features hardening as the familiar pompous visage of Counselor Zethkar filled the projection space. Humans of the Sol system, the aliens for eyes, blinked in sequence, a gesture that had once seemed exotic but now felt patronizing. The Galactic Council has reviewed your latest transgressions. Your expansion into the Kepler 440 system violates Treaty Section 847.3, subsection Gamma. You will withdraw immediately and submit to a tribunal hearing. The other human leaders exchanged glances. General Martinez's jaw clenched. Director Walsh of Colonial Affairs shook her head almost imperceptibly. They had all seen this before. Another demand, another restriction, another attempt to keep humanity caged in their home system like some dangerous animal. Admiral Chen stepped forward, her voice steady but cold. Counselor Zethkar, with all due respect, Kepler 442 was unclaimed territory according to your own databases. Our colonists have been there for 8 months, building homes, establishing infrastructure irrelevant. Zethkar's translator rendered his words with mechanical precision. The Vrex hegemony has filed a claim of cultural significance to that system. Your species lacks the sophistication to understand such nuances. This is why younger species require guidance. The word younger hung in the air like a slap. Humanity had been part of the galactic community for 47 years now. Ever since first contact in 2157, 47 years of being treated like children, of having their every move scrutinized, their every achievement diminished. Furthermore, Zethkar continued, his tone growing more imperious, your military buildup in the asteroid belt constitutes a violation of the defensive limitation accords. You will decommission 70% of your fleet within 6 standard cycles. That was the final straw. Admiral Chen felt something snap inside her, not just personally, but she could sense it happening across the room, across humanity itself. The breaking point had been reached. Counselor, Chen said, her voice dropping to a dangerous whisper, I'm going to stop you right there. The aliens for eyes widened and at his species considered surprise. In 47 years of human council relations, no human official had ever interrupted a formal pronouncement. I beg your pardon. Zethkar's voice carried the outrage of someone unaccustomed to being challenged. Admiral Chen looked around the room at her colleagues, seeing in their faces the same tired fury that burned in her chest. How many times had they bent the knee? How many times had they swallowed their pride and accepted restrictions that no other species faced? How many human dreams had been crushed under the weight of galactic wisdom? You heard me correctly, Counselor, I said. Stop. We're done listening. The projection flickered as if the transmission itself was shocked. Admiral Chen, you are speaking to a representative of the Galactic Council. Your tone is my tone. Chen interrupted again, stepping closer to the hologram, is that of someone who's finally realized that respect is a two-way street, and you've been driving the wrong way for 47 years. General Martinez stood up from his chair, the scraping sound echoing in the sudden silence. The Admiral speaks for all of us. Counselor, we're tired of being treated like wayward children who need constant supervision. You are children. Zethkar's composure finally cracked, his translated voice rising to a shriek. Your species has existed in space for less than half a century. The Threx have been exploring the galaxy for 12,000 years. The Kethmori for 8,000. You are infants playing with forces beyond your comprehension. Director Walsh laughed, a sound devoid of humor. And yet, Counselor, in those 12,000 years, how many new technologies have the Threx developed? How many scientific breakthroughs? How many innovations that improved life for anyone? The silence that followed was telling. In 47 years, Walsh continued, humanity has revolutionized medical technology, developed new forms of faster-than-light communication, created sustainable terraforming techniques, and solved energy crises that have plagued the galaxy for millennia. But please, tell us again how we're too young to understand. Admiral Chen nodded approvingly. Here's what's going to happen, Counselor. We're not withdrawing from Kepler 442. We're not reducing our fleet. And we're certainly not submitting to another one of your tribunals where the verdict is predetermined, and the sentence is designed to keep us in our place. This is unprecedented, Zethkar sputtered. You cannot simply ignore council directives. There will be consequences. Yes, Chen said quietly, there will be. The holographic projection of Counselor Zethkar seemed to pulse with indignation, his alien features contorting in ways that would have been comical if the situation weren't so grave. You. You cannot be serious. The Galactic Council represents 43 species across 16 sectors. We maintain peace, order, stability. You maintain stagnation. General Martinez interjected, rising to his full height. 43 species, and not one of them has made a significant advancement in centuries. You've created a galaxy-wide bureaucracy designed to prevent change, prevent growth, prevent anyone from threatening the established order. Admiral Chen felt a surge of pride at her colleague's words. This was what she'd been waiting for, the moment when humanity finally found its voice and decided to use it. The established order, she said, that keeps the Threx controlling the galactic trade routes they claimed 8,000 years ago. The established order that gives the Kethmori exclusive mining rights to entire systems because they discovered them first. The established order that prevents any new species from rising above the station you assign them. Zethkar's for eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation. The Council's wisdom has prevented galactic war for over 6 millennia. Your species' aggressive tendencies are precisely why restrictions are necessary. Aggressive. Director. Walsh stood up, her voice carrying decades of diplomatic frustration. Counselor, in 47 years, humanity has never initiated hostilities with another species. We've never claimed territory belonging to others. We've never imposed our will on unwilling populations. Can the same be said for the mature species you represent? The question hung in the air like an accusation. Everyone in the room knew the answer. The Vrexy-Gemini's expansion into Antares sector. The Threx blockade of the Rim worlds. The Kethmori's forced relocation of 6 primitive species from mineral-rich worlds. Those were different circumstances. Zethkar protested weakly. No, Admiral Chen said firmly. They were the same circumstances. The only difference is that when the established powers do it, you call it maintaining stability. When humans want to expand into genuinely unclaimed space, you call it aggression. She paused, letting the weight of her words settle. Around the table, she could see the resolve solidifying in her colleagues' faces. They had crossed the Rubicon now, and there was no going back. Let me be aptly clear, Counselor Zethkar, Chen continued. Humanity is withdrawing from the Galactic Council's jurisdiction. We no longer recognize your authority over our actions, our expansion, or our future. The alien's translator struggled with what sounded like choking sounds. You. You cannot simply leave the Council. No species has ever tried. Chen corrected. Because no species has ever been treated the way you've treated us. But we're not like the others. Are we, Counselor? We don't accept limitations just because someone older tells us we should. Counselor Zethkar's image flickered more violently now, whether from technical difficulties or his own agitation. Admiral Chen couldn't tell. When his voice came through the translator, it carried a new tone, one she recognized from her years of military service. It was the sound of someone realizing they had seriously miscalculated. Admiral Chen, you must understand the implications of what you're saying. The Council's protection, our trade agreements, our shared defense pacts, protection. From what? General Martinez laughed harshly. From the pirate raids you've consistently failed to stop. From the stellar phenomena you can't predict. From the territorial disputes you can't resolve. Your protection, counselor, has been worth exactly what we paid for it. Director Walsh activated her personal tablet, scrolling through decades of data. Since joining the Council, humanity has provided advanced medical techniques that extended the average lifespan of 14 species, fusion technology that solved energy crises on 27 worlds, agricultural innovations that ended famines on 6 planets, and terraforming methods that made 12 previously uninhabitable worlds into thriving colonies. She looked up from the device, her eyes cold. In return, we've received 37 formal censures, 143 trade restrictions, 56 limitations on expansion, and constant lectures about our place in the galactic order. The cost-benefit analysis, counselor, is quite clear. Admiral Chen walked closer to the projection, her shadow falling across the alien's image. You want to know what the real problem is, Zethkar? It's not that we're young or aggressive or unsophisticated. It's that we're everything you used to be before you got comfortable. The words seemed to strike the counselor like a physical blow. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence. Faster now. A nervous tick that spoke of deep unease. We explore because we're curious, not because we're expanding territory. We innovate because we see problems that need solving, not because we want to maintain market dominance. We question authority because that's how progress happens, not because we're rebellious children. She paused, her voice dropping to barely above a whisper, but somehow carrying more weight than any shout. And that terrifies you, doesn't it? Because deep down, you remember when your species had that same spark before the bureaucracy, before the committees and the protocols and the endless meetings about meetings, before you decided that stability was more important than growth. Zethkar's image seemed to sag, as if the alien was physically deflating. You don't understand the chaos that existed before the Council. The wars, the suffering. No, Counselor, Director Walsh interrupted. You don't understand the stagnation that exists because of the Council. 6,000 years of peace. Yes, but what kind of peace? The peace of the grave. The peace of civilizations so afraid of conflict that they've forgotten how to truly live. Admiral Chen straightened, her military bearing evident in every line of her body. Here is humanity's formal declaration. Counselors Ethkar, effective immediately, the Sol system and all human colonies are withdrawing from Galactic Council jurisdiction. We will honor no further directives, attend no further tribunals, and accept no further limitations on our sovereign rights as a species. The projection flickered wildly as Zethkar's voice rose to a shriek. This is madness. The other species will never accept this. There will be retaliation. Then, Admiral Chen said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes, they'll discover what happens when you push humanity too far. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the war room in a silence so complete that Admiral Chen could hear her own heartbeat. Around the table, the leadership of humanity sat in stunned quiet, as if collectively realizing the magnitude of what they had just done. General Martinez was the first to speak, his voice barely above a whisper. Well, Admiral, I believe we've just declared independence from the galactic establishment. No, Director Walsh corrected, a strained smile playing across her lips. We've just declared that humanity is ready to stand on its own. There's a difference. Admiral Chen moved to the massive viewport that dominated one wall of the war room, gazing out at the sprawling industrial complexes of Luna Base. Beyond the lunar surface, Earth hung like a blue jewel against the star-filled void, beautiful and defiant. In its isolation, they'll come, she said quietly. Maybe not immediately, but they'll come. The Council can't allow this precedent to stand. If humanity can successfully withdraw from their authority, other species might get ideas. Let them come. Martinez growled, joining her at the viewport. We've spent 47 years building our fleet to their specifications, limiting our weapons to their requirements, keeping our defensive capabilities within their acceptable parameters. But we never stopped innovating, did we? Walsh laughed, and this time there was genuine humor in it. The fools never realize that every restriction they placed on us just forced us to find better solutions. They limited our ship sizes. So, we developed more efficient designs. They restricted our weapons technology. So, we created better defensive systems. They tried to contain our expansion. So, we learned to build faster and more efficiently than anyone in the galaxy. Admiral Chen nodded, her reflection ghost-like in the transparent aluminum. The Kepler 442 colony, our only settlement beyond Council jurisdiction. Project Exodus has been running for 15 years now. Both of her colleagues turned to stare at her. This was classified information that had been restricted to only the highest levels of military command. How many? Martinez asked. 37 worlds, fully established colonies, complete with industrial infrastructure, defensive systems, and populations ranging from 50,000 to 2 million. Chen's voice carried a note of pride that she didn't bother to hide. While the council was busy limiting our official expansion, we were building a secondary civilization in the void between sectors. Director Walsh sat down heavily. 37 worlds. That's larger than most council member species' territories. It gets better. Chen continued. Each colony was designed to be completely self-sufficient within 5 years. We've been preparing for this moment for over a decade, even if we didn't consciously realize it. Humanity doesn't need the Council's trade networks, their protection, or their approval. She turned from the viewport to face her colleagues directly. The question now is whether we're ready for what comes next. Because make no mistake, this isn't just about independence. This is about proving that a species can grow beyond the artificial limitations imposed by those who've forgotten how to grow themselves. General Martinez's calm unit chimed with an urgent message. He read it quickly, his expression growing grimmer. With each line, "What is it?" Walsh asked. "Long-range sensors are picking up unusual activity in the outer system. Multiple FTL signatures, moving toward Sol from the direction of the galactic core." Martinez looked up from the device. "It looks like we won't have to wait long for their response." Admiral Chen felt a familiar sensation, the cold clarity that came before battle. The moment when all uncertainty vanished and only action remained. Then we'd better get ready to show them exactly what humans are capable of when we stop asking for permission. The Strategic Operations Center beneath Luna Base hummed with activity as humanity's finest military minds worked with desperate efficiency. Admiral Chen stood before the massive tactical display, watching as red markers appeared throughout the Sol system, each one representing an incoming Council fleet. "Final count, Admiral," reported Commander Torres, her voice tight with tension. 16 battle groups, representing 8 different species. Total vessel count, 437 ships. The numbers should have been terrifying. By any conventional measure, this was an overwhelming force, the largest military deployment in the galaxy's recorded history. But Admiral Chen found herself strangely calm. "Composition analysis, mixed formations, ma'am. Primarily Threx heavy cruisers and Kethmori battle carriers, with Vrex support vessels and..." "This is interesting. No ships from the younger council. Species. It's almost exclusively the founding members." General Martinez nodded grimly. "They're making a statement. This isn't about military necessity. It's about showing the galaxy what happens when someone challenges the established order." Director Walsh looked up from her diplomatic console, where she'd been monitoring communication channels across known space. "Admiral, we're receiving reports from our intelligence assets throughout Council space. Word of our withdrawal is spreading faster than they can contain it. Several species are already requesting emergency sessions with their Council representatives." "Which species?" Chen asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. "The newer members, mostly, species that joined the Council within the last 1,000 years. The Zelandi have formally requested a review of their membership terms." The Harani are questioning their territorial restrictions. Even the Morvik are making noise about expansion rights. Admiral Chen allowed herself a small smile. The dam is cracking. Mum, Commander Torres interrupted. We're receiving a priority transmission from the incoming fleet. Audio only. Put it through. The voice that filled the operations center was different from Counselor Zethkar S. Older, more resonant, carrying the weight of absolute authority. I am High Counselor Veteran of the Threx Dominion, speaking for the Unified Galactic Council Fleet. Humans of Sol, you have committed an unprecedented act of rebellion against the established galactic order. You will stand down your defenses and prepare to receive a council enforcement team. Your leaders will be taken into custody for trial, and your species will be placed under direct council administration until such time as you demonstrate the maturity necessary for self-governance. The transmission paused, as if waiting for a response. When none came, the voice continued, now carrying a note of irritation. You have one standard art to comply. Any resistance will be met with appropriate force. The Council's patience with human intransigence has reached its end. The channel closed, leaving the operations center in tense silence. Well, General Martinez said dryly, I suppose diplomacy is off the table. Admiral Chen turned to face the assembled staff, her expression resolute. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the moment we've been preparing for our entire careers. Not just as military officers, but as human beings. Today, we find out if our species is ready to stand among the stars as equals, or if we'll spend the rest of our existence bowing to the whims of those who came before us. She gestured to the tactical display, where the red markers continued their inexorable approach toward Earth. They outnumber us for 2-1. Their ships are larger, their weapons more conventional, their crews more experienced in traditional warfare. By every metric the Council recognizes, this should be a slaughter. A murmur ran through the assembled officers, but Chen raised her hand for silence. But they've made one critical error in judgment. They assume that because we're young, we're weak. Because we've been restricted, we're limited. Because we've been compliant, we're defeated. Her voice rose, carrying to every corner of the room. They don't understand that every restriction they placed on us forced us to innovate. Every limitation they imposed made us stronger. Every time they told us no, we found a way to say yes. She turned back to the display, where new markers were beginning to appear, blue ones, representing humanity's defensive forces. Activate Ghost Protocol, she commanded. All hidden assets, all classified projects, all contingency plans. Today, the galaxy learns what humanity has been building in the shadows. The tactical display exploded with new information as dozens, then hundreds of blue markers appeared throughout the system. Hidden shipyards activated, revealing fleets that had been constructed in secret. Weapon platforms that had been disguised as mining stations powered up their true armaments. Defense networks that had been thought to be simple communication arrays revealed their military purpose. Commander Torres stared at the display in amazement. Admiral ... This is incredible. When did we build all of this? We never stopped building. Commander, Chen replied, we just got very good at hiding it. 47 years of being underestimated has taught us the value of keeping our true capabilities secret. The blue markers continued to multiply as humanity's real strength revealed itself. Ships emerged from asteroid bases, weapon platforms deployed from seemingly empty space, and defensive networks activated across the entire system. Final count? Chen asked. 832 combat vessels, ma'am, plus another 300 support ships and nearly 2,000 automated defense platforms. The operations center fell silent as the implication sank in. Humanity hadn't just been building in secret, they had been building on a scale that dwarfed their supposed limitations. High Counselor Veteran S. voice crackled through the comm system again, but this time it carried a note of uncertainty. Humans. This display of force is ... unexpected. However, it changes nothing. You will stand down immediately or face the consequences. Admiral Chen activated the reply channel, her voice carrying across space to the Council fleet and beyond to every inhabited world, every listening station, every species watching to see if the impossible might actually happen. High Counselor, Veteran, this is Admiral Sarah Chen, speaking for humanity. We have stood down for 47 years. We have complied, compromised, and accepted limitations that no species should endure. That ends today. She paused, letting her words reach every corner of the galaxy. You want to see what happens when humanity stops asking permission. You're about to find out. 6 months after the Battle of Sol, as historians would later call it, Admiral Chen stood in the same war room where humanity had first declared its independence from the Galactic Council. But the room had changed, just as everything else had changed. The tactical displays now showed a very different galaxy. The blue markers representing human territory had spread across 12 sectors, as colony ships launched from the hidden worlds of Project Exodus established new settlements at a pace that astounded even humanity's allies. Yes, allies. That had been perhaps the most surprising development of all. Director Walsh, now serving as humanity's first ambassador to the Free Species Alliance, gestured to the diplomatic briefing displayed on the main screen. The latest count is 37 species that have either withdrawn from Council jurisdiction or declared independence outright. The Zelani were first, followed by the Hurani. Even some of the older species are questioning their membership. Asterisk. The Battle of Sol had lasted 18 hours. When it ended, the Council fleet had suffered devastating losses while humanity's casualties had been remarkably light. But more importantly, the entire galaxy had watched as humanity's secret technological superiority became undeniably apparent, the Council's attempting to maintain control of the core systems. General Martinez reported, but their authority has been fundamentally undermined. 3 species have demanded the dissolution of the current leadership structure. The threats are facing internal rebellions on 17 worlds. Admiral Chen nodded, but her expression remained thoughtful rather than triumphant. Victory in war was one thing. Building a lasting peace was another entirely. What's the status of our diplomatic overtures to the moderate council factions? Mixed responses, Walsh replied. The younger species are eager to establish relations, but some of the older ones are hesitant. They're struggling to adapt to a galaxy where their word isn't automatically law. A soft chime indicated an incoming priority transmission. The main display activated, revealing a familiar, but somehow diminished figure, Counselor Ethkar, looking older and more tired than before. Admiral Chen, he began, his voice lacking its former arrogance. I am transmitting on behalf of a coalition of moderate council species. We wish to discuss terms for a new galactic framework, one that perhaps recognizes the changing realities of our situation. Chen studied the alien's image, seeing not the pompous bureaucrat who had once lectured humanity about its place, but a being who had watched his entire worldview crumble in the span of a few months. Counselor Ethkar, she replied formally, humanity is willing to participate in discussions regarding a new galactic order, but understand that we will not accept a return to the old restrictions. The galaxy has outgrown the need for a single authority deciding which species are allowed to thrive. Yes, Zethkar said quietly. Yes. We are beginning to understand that. Perhaps. Perhaps it is time for all of us to remember what it means to grow. After the transmission ended, the 3 humans stood in contemplative silence. They had achieved something unprecedented in galactic history, not just military victory, but a fundamental shift in how species related to each other among the stars. So what now? Martinez asked. We've broken the old system. Do we try to build a new one? Admiral Chen turned to gaze out at the stars, visible through the war room's great viewport. Somewhere out there, human colonies were taking root on worlds that had never known restriction. Somewhere out there, other species were learning that they too could choose their own destinies. No, General, she said finally, We don't build a new system, we build something better, a galaxy where systems aren't necessary, where species can interact as equals, where innovation is stifled by bureaucracy, where the only limit to growth is a species' own imagination. She smiled, and for the first time in months, it reached her eyes. We build a galaxy worthy of the dreams that brought us to the stars in the first place. Outside the viewport, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter, as if reflecting the promise of a future where no species would ever again be told they were too young, too aggressive, or too different to claim their place among the infinite possibilities of space. Humanity had refused to parley, and in doing so, had given the galaxy its freedom.